the effect of what happened to you is obviously nobody else can do anything about it but you. It's not fair, it's not just, you're not to blame for it, but this is it, and you have to take it like that.
Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. And hello, GP. Really good to be
Hello,
with you today.
sir. So great to be with you. Absolutely. Yeah, this is so much fun.
Awesome. So, yeah, we're talking about emotional healing today and emotionally healing. And it's that's a big topic. Again, we're talking about all the energies going on. And I know for me, there are times, even today, like, well, this thing just kicked off. Actually, as the time I was recording, this thing just kicked off, this event we're doing. And there's got all that, got other layers of things going on, right?
Yeah.
Your personal life, then the collective world, and if you listen to the news, you could be triggered all day long. You say, oh, the
Yeah, we
emotions
are
and
kind
everything.
of we are kind of triggered all day long, actually. At a low level, it's called stress.
Right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we've got all these things, and the emotions can get so huge and big at times, and can overtake us. I imagine. I know I get very intense about some things at times. For sure, we all do. We feel these emotions arise, and I think part of this whole becoming a spiritual rock star is definitely learning how to work with the emotional aspect of it as well. So I'm glad you're on to help guide us on that. You've been I just let everybody know GP has been doing this work for a very long time, for decades, and
Yes.
absolutely can support you a lot in all this. Now, I do remember this. Where I'm guided to go is just to kind of come back to where you started in terms of your journey with you had, I know, big major frustration, anger. I remember in those flavors, talking to me about the past in the on other interviews with me, and that kind of led you down the road, I imagine, if I can remember correctly, to doing this type of work. So, if you
Yeah.
want to share just a bit about that and what you've learned in the process of working with emotions that arise within
Well,
oneself, that's great.
yeah. Well, sure, because I was one of the severely traumatized kids, severely abused, neglected, oppressed. I mean, very long list of things. My mother was mentally ill, emotionally, completely disconnected from everything. No empathy. No, I mean, I just never felt loved my entire life. I was always, no, my entire childhood, I was always kind of like on pins and needles. And I had a very significant spiritual experience. We don't have enough time for me to go into it now because it's a big story in and of itself
Yeah.
that really kind of shifted everything. It got me in touch with something in me that I now know is in absolutely everyone. I call it original innocence. You can call it your true authentic self. That it wasn't destroyed. But it was actually buried under layers and layers and layers of stuff. And it took me many decades just to even get a handle on what it was. I mean, this happened to me in 1971, right? Course in Miracles hadn't been written yet. There was no internet. there was no. There was no. I mean, nobody even knew who Deepak Chopra or Wayne Dyer was, and all of that was to come. There wasn't a whole lot available, so it was kind of a long plod going through the whole thing that
Mhm.
that led me to where I've come to now. And it went through spirituality and metaphysics and men's work and psychology and experiential psychology and energy healing to as well as Advaita Vedanta and Buddhism that got me to the place where I really understood how the human being functions, why we get so disconnected from ourselves, how common it actually is that we don't live in a healthy society that creates healthy people. And the number one thing to recognize is this is the culture you grew up with, and all the problems and things you suffer from, they're not your fault. You're not to blame for all of this. Now that's big news if it actually gets to sink in, because we are convinced we are. We are convinced That's what happens to the little kid. But keep guiding me because I could go off in a million different
Right. No,
directions,
no, I mean that's
different
interesting
directions here.
because
Yeah.
there's a whole philosophy of I mean, I totally hear where you're coming from, and I resonate with, I believe where you're coming from with what you said. Uh, and then, but I think it could get twisted because a lot of times people are taught, you're 100% responsible for everything, in your life, right? Your experience. And
Yeah.
there's some truth to that, right? There's some truth
Yeah.
to that, but the things that came up. So there's people that say you attracted it to you through your karma
Oh,
from your
good
past
God!
lives, all this
What a
usual stuff.
horrible thing to say to somebody. Please.
Okay. Okay.
What? I mean,
Yeah,
just
you're to blame
yeah,
basically, right? So
you are to
I have a
blame.
different
And
perspective on it all, but I don't see it as blame. But like, yeah, I'm curious what your take is on some of that.
well,
I
that
some of it.
because my path was predominantly spiritual, right? And looking for the deeper meaning and the truth of things, right? And with the teachings of Advaita, with really good teachers of Advaita, as well as Zen Buddhism, I found this flow between things. So you'll take a side and say, it's all your responsibility, take responsibility for your life, right? And the other side says, it's all their it's all them, it's all been done to you. And the fact is, it's both. When you're a little kid, no, you're not responsible for how your parents teach you. You did not attract it into your life. You did not make any plans in the other world to come here and experience that. It's just the confluence of events that takes place, your individual character, the environment you're in, and the nature of the nervous system itself and how it adapts to the environment.
Mhm.
That's so you're not to blame for any of it. But, if somebody picks up a gun and shoots you, it doesn't matter whether it's on purpose or by accident, you're dead. The effect of what happened to you is obviously nobody else can do anything about it but you. It's not fair, it's not just, you're not to blame for it, but this is it. And you have to take it like that. And if you take that position, the guilt, the pressure is off, and you realize, yeah, okay, this is where I'm at, right? And yes, it sucks. If I'd had parents who were conscious, it would have been different, but I didn't, and pretty much nobody else did either, because there wasn't much of it going around it at that point. And
Mhm.
it takes a whole, it lets you off the hook and still engages you in the work that has to be done, which could even regard as a spiritual path, right?
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
say in they say in Zen, there are no obstacles on the path. The obstacle is the path.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I feel that that this responsibility thing, it's huge because I think people go to the other polar opposite that you sort of talked about there, right? Like, no, you see, it's not my fault. I'm a victim only, I'm just a
Yes,
victim. I'm a victim, and
yes,
so we've got these like competing ideas in a way, like either you're 100% responsible, or you're not responsible at all.
yes.
And so, yeah, I mean, it makes more sense, sounds more reasonable, right? It's a
Yeah, it's
confluence of
both.
all of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were victimized.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah.
the child was a victim,
hmm
right? And because the child was powerless, right?
hmm hmm
If we don't if we don't step up to the fact that you're going to have to do something about it, you remain in the powerless state.
Right.
And when you're in the powerless state, you're going to be completely governed by the conditioning, which was created when you really were powerless. And you'll find it just from that place, it's impossible to improve your life. It will always be, you won't have the energy or the insight to be able to recognize conditioning as conditioning and
hmm
not me, not my
Right.
actual character. This is conditioning that and so it's embodied in me. My nervous system was trained to react in a certain way, but it's not actually who I am.
Right. Right. That's very liberating for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, I always say though, I'd rather be on the it is just my preference. I'd rather be in I'm 100% responsible camp than I'm not responsible at all camp. I mean, I feel more liberated by that idea.
Yeah.
But it does go to other extremes where it could feel very heavy to feel that way, right? Like,
Oh, yeah,
whatever that,
yeah, yeah.
I'm
Well,
responsible for every single thing I'm feeling, and it has nothing to do with the past. It has to do with what I'm deciding right now, and it's because it's not. It just arises because it's just all there from all our experiences. So,
yes. The problem is it becomes more mental, and we think we can by sheer willpower just kind of work through.
right.
And and the thing is that yes, cognitively we understand, we can take steps to do that, but unless we recognize that deep down in the nervous system, it's still a little child that is powerless and victimized. It got
Hmm.
stuck in that position, and you're going to have this conflict. And
Right.
what always happens, I've never not see it happen, is that when you make the effort, the concerted and sincere effort to improve and take responsibility, you fail
Right.
because you're
Yeah.
not aware of the inner forces that are resistant to it, and then you blame yourself and beat yourself up, which is exactly what happened in the first place. So it
Right.
becomes kind of this vicious cycle. So
Mm.
the only thing that actually does it is, I've heard it many times, is love.
Hmm. Yeah.
We have to embrace the part of us that has been conditioned and is stuck in a particular period of time with the intent to liberate it and thus experience the freedom in our life that we've been taking, that we have been taking responsibility about. The responsible thing to do is turn inside and recapture the energy that's naturally uh, in you. The problem isn't taking responsibility. The problem is we simply haven't really known how to go about it.
Hmm.
Right?
Right.
We've
Right.
gone. We've been looking in the wrong places.
You could be responsible for realizing you weren't the problem, so to speak. Right? That could
That
be a
is
way of taking
because it's
responsibility
true.
too.
The
Right.
responsibility is let's find what the truth
Yeah.
is here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
Absolutely.
this did happen.
Right.
My whole system reacted in that way, conditioned itself into that way. I,
Hmm.
I developed a sense of identity
Hmm.
around that made me think I was that,
Hmm.
and none of it actually is that. You're not your conditioning. That's big news.
Right. I know from my conditioning, I know that I just came to my own realization. Again, I don't want to blame my anybody in my upbringing or whatever. I just had the sense of, well, there's certain issues going on in the family. I guess I'm there's this energy going on in the family. I'll just kick back into the background and better lay low.
Yeah,
I wasn't thinking any of those thoughts, but that's how I would respond. And
right.
then if I would then when I would start showing up, it'd be like, you're arguing, why are you arguing, and stuff
Yes.
like that comes up. And it's like, kind of keep playing your role, right? Like, stay in the
Well,
role we want you. Like,
yeah, and
what happens to a lot of
if we
people.
think about it in terms of just think if we think of ourselves as playing that role,
Hmm.
this is before there's even really a self there.
Hmm.
The child is just nothing. It's nothing but the nervous system interacting with and adapting to the environment to get its
Hmm.
needs met and get as much as it possibly can to the
Hmm.
degree it's safe to do so. And
Hmm.
if your natural inclination, because children are totally innocent, they're totally expressive, it's all them, right?
Hmm.
There's nothing, there's nothing affected about it at all. They're just being themselves. But if in being yourself gets you hurt, all of a sudden, being what you actually are, you can't do, and you can,
Hmm.
and so you're in this position. Right? Before you can think, nothing's going on. You're not participating in this at all. This is all
Hmm.
happening
Right.
on a visceral level.
Hmm.
So if it's not safe to be who you are, but you cannot be anything other than what you are,
Hmm.
you have an existential crisis. I can't. And in order to survive, the nervous system, energy system, the whole complex here has to take all those qualities that are you and natural, but get you hurt, shove them off to the side so they can't come out. So now you're all your life is. And then it actually has to create a false persona to present to the environment that will match what the environment wants to see to get its needs met. This is the essential disconnect. You get disconnected from who you are. And as that develops, the disconnect continues, and we end up getting in our heads and thinking about things. And so not only are you disconnected from who you really are, you're also disconnected from the body. Feelings become an enemy, they become difficult. I got to get rid of this. And that's what a lot of the manifestation stuff is, get rid of the negative emotions.
Right.
No, 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 no. Love your way through the negative emotions to find out what it is they're actually trying to protect.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, because that sense of the negative keeps coming up. If you just always push it to the side constantly and never listen to it, yeah, that's never tended to. I don't know if we can dive deep into it every single
Uh,
time it comes up or not, but at
well,
least we need to spend
if
time, right? Yeah.
yes, yes, that's exactly the case.
Right.
Because when you push it away, what you are doing is exactly what happened to you in the first place that put it into that position. So you've in fact just reinforced the defensive mechanism that's there, because it's not safe. It's still not safe for you to be yourself. And yeah, sometimes it comes up and there isn't anything, and you can't just sit and process it. But if it comes up and you feel it, oh, there's the trigger, and you recognize it as such, it's not to be pushed away, but to just be with it. And you say, not now. I can't deal with this now. I need to do this. And
Right.
as you begin to establish that relationship, one of love and respect, that's all it is. It's a system trying to protect you.
Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free meditate, make money meditation today.
I mean, who can
Right.
argue with that, right? It's an overzealous friend, right?
Right.
That we have turned into an enemy. It's not not an enemy, but as you treat it like that, it becomes increasingly cooperative. It
Right.
feels more and more safe. The defenses begin to come down, and your potential for self-expression gets bigger. That's the whole process in a nutshell. It's all about creating the safe space inside.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I know I've gone both ways on that, where I just try to, oh, get your mind right, let's go. And then I've
Yes.
also gone to what you said, like this deeper emotional healing, looking at just the wounded child. Okay, what age are you? And whatever, and listening and dialoguing and all these different processes that we can do to expand our connection, with who we are really. I mean, through the emotions is kind of how I've experienced it. So
Yes.
I know you have different ways of helping people to deal with these things as they come up. What are some of the things you recommend as people are getting triggered with all the things going on in their lives?
Well, it's kind of the dealing with the immediate and dealing with the long term, right? Because the goal is to get to such a place of harmony and reconnection to who you really are, that you don't need triage, right? You don't. It just, you get to a place of equanimity where you're not being bothered by these things. It doesn't mean you're not concerned. It doesn't mean you're not active. Just you're not being triggered by them anymore.
Right.
And the more you are not triggerable, the more you can show up with a whole bunch of resources, and you
Right.
won't just be looking at it from one perspective. You'll have access to ways to bring about solutions you could never imagine otherwise, because you don't have access to that part of you. And the way I do it, the emphasis is, how do you create a safe space, right? By it's a mixture of understanding what's actually happening, so you realize it's not an enemy, right? And the whole process by which this works, and it's not like you have to understand it in depth. I've been studying it forever, right? So So I know about all this, but you don't need all that to heal, right? All you need is, how do I become safer for myself? It's a transformation of the relationship with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I call it an inner reconciliation. It's a word I use. You're reconciling with yourself. You're not fixing yourself.
Right.
You're not you're not you're not fixing yourself in any way. It's not self-help. It's self-discovery. So you find what's actually the real you that's there, that's buried under all these layers of protection. And I think the only technique people would recognize that I use is tapping, EFT, the
Mm-hmm.
emotional freedom
Mm-hmm.
technique.
Yeah.
Because what I found was that that doing the tapping, the nervous system interprets that as a message of safety,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you're actually tapping on spots on the face and on the body that the nervous system is hardwired to associate with comfort. So
Right.
you see people when they get surprised, they'll do something like this or like
Right.
this, right? They'll do this when they're worried or something. These are the points, right? We're just
Mm-hmm.
consciously now using them to tell
Right.
the system it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it's getting that message, it's going to receive it. It doesn't miss anything, right? And if you combine that with just very gently inviting it to just, what are you feeling? Oh, whatever it is, you just receive it. It's like layers start to come off,
Mm-hmm.
and things start to come up. And the more you do it, the more space there is for the deeper things to come up, which you
Right.
couldn't come up before because it would just freak you out.
Right.
But you are preparing yourself and the whole nervous system so that all of it can just come up, and you can actually be truly free,
Right.
and not, I always like to say there's supposed to be an end game to all the personal growth and development. There's an end game. It isn't just a lifetime of perpetual fixing. There is a point at which that's done. You are
Mm-hmm.
free. You are free.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and and so I wish I could say this is the way technique, but I grab out. I've used inner child work. I've used meditation. I've used self-inquiry. I use the tapping. I got a lot of tools in the toolbox. What
Mm-hmm.
inner reconciliation isn't a technique; it's a context.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a
What
way of
you've provided,
looking at it.
yeah, you've provided some of that for sure today in the time we have together. And I know you have you do have a free gift for people to take advantage of. Can you tell them briefly about that?
Yeah, anybody who's interested in emotional healing, right? Um, which covers a wide variety of things, but it really is. It's all for me directed to emotional healing, which means becoming free to be yourself, which is the original trauma that created the whole mess. This comes from there. I just want to go back right to the roots and deal with it there. But it's also very related to spiritual self-inquiry, which is looking beyond beyond into the divine, the dimensions beyond just our human experience and emotion. But you can't get there without some emotional freedom.
Mm.
Right? You can't do an end run around all this stuff. So what the gift is I've developed this thing I call presence tapping. So I
Mhm.
often don't use the formal technique. There's a very
Yeah.
formal technique. Maybe
Hmm.
people are familiar with it.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the things I heard the most is, well, when I'm tapping, what do I say? Okay, how about you say nothing?
Hmm.
You just tap and listen. And so I have these things called presence tapping,
Hmm.
and I got a whole bunch of them. And I just like to invite people to go to the YouTube channel where I have a playlist of them. There's like
Hmm.
41 of them last count
Hmm.
on all sorts of different subjects. Um, and they can do that. They don't have to give me their email or anything. You know,
Okay.
please subscribe, right?
Yeah,
Please
right, right.
subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel. That would be wonderful. But I just put it out there for everybody to experience it, and I've found that a lot of people who, you know, they just they don't they don't get it, the formal thing about it, and they say just sit there, listen, tap, note how you feel at the beginning, note how you feel at the end. And
Right.
you'll know for yourself, direct experience, there's something here worth moving towards. The effect
Absolutely.
is that fast.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds phenomenal because I know a lot of people are like, "Am I doing it right?" And I gotta keep remembering to repeat all this stuff, especially when they're getting started with it, right? And
Yeah.
it's very can be very helpful, very powerful. But sometimes people are like, "Oh, I don't know what point. I gotta get my chart out again if they haven't done it in a while." So that's a
Yeah.
really nice gift. I appreciate that, and thank you so much. In this limited time, I think we covered some really,
Yeah.
like, I really felt some really wonderful presence from you and insight. So I'm really grateful for you coming on today. Thank you, GP.
I'm always happy when you give me a ring and say, come on back. It's great. Thanks, Danny.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks so much.
All right, my man. Take care.
For listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.